photographs could lead to new leads in the disappearance 3 weeks ago of Renee Pernice. Tonight, investigators are asking for your help in identifying a truck and a woman's possible connection to it. KMBC 9's Peggy Bright is live tonight at Gladstone and Independence. Peggy?
Kelly, no one has seen the Northland mother and nurse since the 1st or 2nd of January. Her cell phone was found just a short ways from here, and now police think that a pickup truck may be a vital key to the case.
What type of vehicle it is, if anybody recognizes the vehicle, or if anybody saw that vehicle, specifically on January 2nd, in the morning hours.
Detective Robert Blem is a man on a mission. He's among several investigators trying to find out what happened to Renee Pernice. Renee vanished from her Northland home on the 1st or 2nd of January. Her husband, Sean, an Independence firefighter and paramedic, hired an attorney and has not spoken with police. The couple's children, now 6 and 8, have not talked to investigators either, nor has Renee's family been able to see the boys. Detective Blem has been in touch with them.
Hurting, wanting to know what's happened to their loved one.
The truck could be critical. It was photographed by a surveillance camera in the early daylight hours of January 2nd.
It appears to be possibly a quad cab or extended cab truck. It appears to have something on the roof, whether it be equipment, a rack.
And there's something like maybe a toolbox in the back of the bed. Police also want to know if this woman has a connection to the truck. They know who she is. They aren't releasing her name. But their primary focus is the truck.
We're very interested if anybody saw anybody driving the vehicle, who may have been in it, whose vehicle it is, and any information about the vehicle, no matter how small.
Now, you can take a closer look at the photos on our website, kmbc.com. And if you have any information about that truck or that woman, you can call the Homicide Squad directly at 816-234-5043 or the TIPS hotline, 816-474-TIPS. Police say a detail may seem insignificant to you, but it could be critical to them, so don't hesitate to call. We are live at Gladstone and Independence Avenue. Back to you, Kelly.
Peggy, any reaction to all this from Renee's family?
No, not tonight, because Renee's grandfather has died, and so they're dealing with that as well.
All right. Thank you, Peggy. Now, police found a photograph among Renee's things at the nursing college where she taught. It depicted her husband with one of their boys and another woman, but police tell us this is a different woman. That's all the information they are releasing at this time.
Breaking news tonight, court documents reveal new information on the search for a missing Northland woman.
KMBC 9's Martin Augustine is live at the Clay County Courthouse tonight, where he's had a chance to read through those documents on the search of Renee Pernice's home. Martin?
Kelly, Renee Pernice has been missing since the start of the year. Court documents now on file here at the Clay County Courthouse are spelling out what police were looking for last week when they searched the home of Renee and her husband Sean. And those documents also spell out why they were doing that. Now, last week we watched police carry out bags and bags of material, including Sean Pernice's extensive collection of guns and ammunition, but the court papers tell us of some critical pieces of potential evidence that are much more microscopic in nature, but no less critical, pulled from the Pernice home. Now, we're talking about dozens and dozens of swabs taken in the home indicating possible traces of blood, but that must be studied further at the Regional Crime Lab to confirm or refute that. The swabs were taken from all over the house, including on the garage, living room floor, bedroom, and kitchen floors, as well as swabs taken from a steam vacuum cleaner and the head of an axe. Now, also in the documents, a statement from the pre-dawn hours of January 3rd. Sean was in the Independence Fire Department Hazmat Station House. He is an Independence Fire Department EMT firefighter, but not assigned to that firehouse, which, as court papers say, would have lots and lots of cleaning solvents and cleaning supplies. And this happened several hours before Renee's family reported her missing. Now, Renee's family also told police that Sean and Renee were having, quote, significant marital problems. Indeed, when police went to Renee's office, they found documents from several law firms that detail the anticipated divorce. Additionally, Renee's family told police that she purchased her home before ever meeting Sean, so it seemed doubtful to them that she would leave the home to them. Now, back out here live here at the Clay County Courthouse. Also in those documents, we learned that just yesterday, police took a swab from the mouth of Sean Pernice for the purposes of DNA testing. Now, Sean Pernice has not said anything publicly since his wife disappeared. Through an attorney, he said that he hopes that his wife is okay. And we should point out that even with all these documents that we've gone through, this is still officially a missing persons case. Reporting live at the Clay County Courthouse, Martin Augustine, KMBC 9.
Perpetrator of this crime, or the persons who perpetrated this crime, I think they know they have some new heat on them. So, to me, that's positive.
The parents of a missing Northland mother and nurse unite to announce their solidarity and a big boost in a reward fund.
Good evening. From a missing persons case to a death investigation.
It's a legal leap that comes as no surprise to the family of Renee Pernice, who disappeared a month ago. It's our top story tonight. And KMBC 9's Peggy Bright is live at Pernice's father's Overland Park home, where the family held a news conference late this afternoon. Peggy?
It's what they say they've known all along in their hearts, but now it's official because of an announcement today from the Clay County prosecutor. So Renee's parents are doing all they can to help find out what happened to her. Renee's parents and step-parents have united in this effort to come up with $25,000 in reward money. Renee vanished from her Northland home just after the start of the new year. Left behind were her two sons, 6 and 8, and her husband Sean, an Independence firefighter and paramedic. Sean has cut off contact with Renee's family, but the grandparents have spoken with the kids and are still trying to see them. Tonight they feel they're close to making it happen.
We love them dearly, and we just have to see them to continue that relationship.
They are the piece of Renee that's left, and we dearly want to hold that in our arms.
We did find out today that the boys have spoken with police. Tonight at 6, you'll get the prosecutor's take on this case. We're live in Overland Park. Kelly, back to you.
Peggy, why the reward fund now?
Well, they say they've actually been working on it all along, Kelly. They've been trying to raise this money, and they've finally come up with it. But the big switch came when the prosecutor changed the classification of this case from missing person to death investigation. Now they can put that money up, and the reward will be available.
Tonight only on 9, a new court filing in the case of missing Northland mother Renee Pernice.
This time a move by Renee's mother and stepfather to get custody of Renee's two sons. Peggy Bright is live at the Clay County Courthouse with the story. Peggy?
Laura, the suit filed here comes in the form of this application for guardianship, and it refers to Sean Pernice as an unfit father. It lists several reasons why in an effort to persuade a judge to take the boys away from him.
One of the reasons, Pernice's arrest last month on a charge that he stole a neighbor's gun while picking up his children. He's never answered us, but he will have to answer the lawsuit and the points within it that make the case for placing the boys with Renee's mother and stepfather. That Sean is unfit and unable to care for the children, and that he has left the children alone on at least one occasion. That could be referring to a couple days after Renee vanished from their home on the 1st of this year. Early on the morning of January 3rd, the Independence Fire Department told police Sean used his city entry card to go to the hazardous materials fire station where cleaning materials are stored. The children were apparently still at the Pernice home, sleeping. The custody documents also say Sean Pernice brandished a gun in front of the children, that he tried to cash accounts in Renee's name, accounts intended just for the children, and that he has a number of outstanding bad checks with the Argosy Casino. Renee's family has stayed firmly together during the search for Renee, but it's Renee's mother, Linda Lockwood, and her husband who have filed for custody of the grandsons.
Now, neither Linda nor her attorneys say they have anything to say about this custody filing right now. They say the papers speak for themselves. We're live in Liberty at the Clay County Courthouse. Back to you, Laura.
Peggy, do we know when Sean Pernice found out about this?
Well, the information we have right now is that he was served this morning. His mother also got paperwork because she is a grandparent and she often takes care of the kids, but she is also listed in here as being unfit.
All right. Thank you, Peggy, very much. And the Pernice boys are now 9 and 6. The first hearing on their custody is scheduled.
Of the new year marks a tragic anniversary for the family of Renee Pernice. They last spoke to her a year ago on January 1st. As KMBC 9's Peggy Bright shows us, relatives are still pleading for someone to step forward and solve the mystery of Renee's disappearance.
The holiday gatherings are the toughest time.
Rick Pretz fights back tears, reliving the past year since his daughter Renee vanished. She was 35 then, but Rick still thinks of her as his little girl, his darling youngest daughter, who grew up to be a nurse and devoted mother of 2 boys. This was Christmas 6 years ago when the boys were toddlers. Renee's family says they know Renee was murdered. They say she would never have abandoned her children or her job teaching other nurses.
From the moment that we heard that she was unaccounted for, we really knew what had happened.
But her sons, now 8 and 10, just don't understand.
There's never closure. The children think, why did mommy leave? Why doesn't she come home?
The children had been in their father Sean's custody until his arrest earlier in the year. Renee's mother went to court and now has temporary custody. Sean Pernice is accused of stealing a neighbor's gun a month after Renee's disappearance, then returning it days later. Sean Pernice also faces charges of threatening those neighbors. His trials for that case and custody are set for next month. Sean only has made one statement to police about Renee. He said she walked out of their Northland home on January 2nd. Her cell phone was discovered in the northeast area of town. That's where Sean grew up. And investigators are still looking for information about this truck. It was seen in the area where the phone turned up, Independence Avenue and Gladstone. Neither Sean nor anyone else has been charged in Renee's disappearance and presumed death. Renee's family hopes to pay out the $25,000 reward they put up for information on where her body is.
Trying to appeal to the people that know. There have to be some people that know or have heard on the fringe of and could give us a tip, and that's all we're asking for.
Peggy Bright, KMBC 9 News.
The Renee Pernice case is unusual. It will pay the $25,000 reward for information on her remains. The fund normally only pays out if a tip leads to an arrest and conviction. If you can help, please call the Crime Stoppers Tips Hotline, 816-474-TIPS. You can get the money and still remain anonymous. To follow breaking news tonight at 6, Sean Pernice taken into custody and charged tonight in his wife's murder.
Renee Pernice has not been seen since New Year's Day of last year. KMBC 9's Peggy Bright was the only reporter present when Sean was brought in and booked today. She starts our team coverage. Peggy?
That's right. He came in handcuffs inside a truck that was brought into the Sally Port here at the Clay County Detention Center. It's just around the corner from where we are right now. We were getting ready for the news conference here. We decided to go over and check out the Sally Port, and then we found him just coming in and being brought into custody. As he was getting out of that truck and talking, we started trying to talk to him. We shouted out questions. He would not respond to us. He simply looked forward. He kept on going. There are times in the course of the last year and a half that Sean has been quite willing to speak out and talk about things. Other times where he hasn't said a word. Today, after this development, he said nothing, but then started the news conference, and Prosecutor Dan White started it all off.
The grand jury of Clay County today returned an indictment against Sean Pernice for the murder of Renee Pernice on or about January 1st of 2009, County of Clay, State of Missouri. He's been arrested by Kansas City Police Department, is currently in the Clay County Jail, and his bond is $1 million.
Now, he was arrested at his home this afternoon. He was wearing shorts as he was getting booked into the jail. What we can tell you is that over the past year and a half, there's been a lot of speculation about Sean Pernice and whether or not he could have been connected to Renee's disappearance. It was on New Year's Day, when the last time that most people even saw her. He said she disappeared the next morning. He said he woke up. She simply was gone, although her car was still there. Her phone was found just a short while later on the northeast side of town, and that is where Sean Pernice grew up. So a lot of wonderment, a lot of amazement today, a stunning development. Sean Pernice charged with the murder of his wife Renee after she disappeared almost a year and a half ago. We are live in Clay County. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you very much, Peggy.
And we go live now to Martin Augustine, who is part of our team coverage tonight with the latest also from the Clay County Courthouse. Martin?
Kelly, I spoke with Renee Pernice's mother and father today. Certainly an emotional day for them, certainly a great sense of relief. But the first thing they're telling me is that what happened today is just the next step in what is going to be a long series of steps, what's already been a long series of steps, and that there is still a long way to go. Now, that doesn't mean they're not thinking about Renee every single day. They certainly are. I spoke with Renee's father a few minutes ago after that news conference, and he spoke to me about still his desire and the family's desire to find Renee's body. And Renee's mother, who now has custody of the sons Renee had with Sean, well, she now has a new and difficult topic to share with those boys. It's still there. Okay.
We've got to realize we don't discuss this every day. I mean, it's not something that is a daily occurrence. So, you know, they're trying to get along and live a normal life as best they can, knowing that things are different than they were.
We would definitely like to have her back and give her the resting place that she deserves. We believe she's moved on to another place, so if we never find her, you know, we're looking for the physical remains anyway, so we're at peace with that.
So again, another emotional day for Renee's parents, but again, they're just trying to take it one day at a time to kind of try as best they can to keep their emotions on an even keel. On one more note, we did have a chance to run into the law office of the attorneys that were representing Sean Pernice. I asked them for comment. I was told that while they were surprised by what happened today, otherwise they had no comment. Reporting live in Liberty, Martin Augustine, KMBC 9 News. Kelly and Larry.
Martin, thank you very much.
Now, word of Sean's arrest is spreading fast.
KMBC 9's Laura Moritz is in the neighborhood where he lives, Northwest 66th Terrace and Holly. Laura?
Well, Larry and Kelly, basically the residents told me this morning, or a little bit ago, that they felt like they were being held hostage by Sean Pernice. Now, Sean Pernice lived in this house behind me. That's where the police department picked him up this afternoon. They basically swarmed the house, brought him out, took his ankle bracelet off, put the cuffs on him, and took him away. Neighbors say that it happened fairly quickly, but of course, one neighbor calls another one and another one because everybody wanted to see this for themselves. Now, a twist of events. Just a little bit ago, Sean Pernice's mom, Marcia Pernice, pulled into the driveway and went into the house. And when she came out, we were able to talk to her for the first time today.
That he's been charged with murder?
Yes.
Did you think this was going to happen?
No, I didn't.
And that was Marcia Pernice. That was not nearly the amount of sound that we want to share with you, and we'll certainly do that tonight at 10. But she was very emotional. Basically, she had no idea that he had been charged with murder. She was on the phone with him when police arrived. So she really is emotionally drained through all of this. And one other note, she told me that she was actually testifying in front of the grand jury this afternoon at 1 o'clock. She came to Sean's house and finds out that her son had been charged with murder. She has some very interesting thoughts as to what has unfolded today, and we're definitely going to share those tonight at 10, but she is shocked and she believes that the prosecutor has made a mistake. Larry and Kelly, back to you.
All right. Thank you, Laura.
And we'll see you tonight at 10. Let's take just a moment now to revisit how this case has developed over the past year and a half.
Renee Pernice was last seen at her home New Year's Day 2009. Several hours after her disappearance, her cell phone is found in the northeast area where her husband Sean Pernice grew up.
January 8th, police search Renee and Sean's home. 2 weeks later, police release a picture of a truck seen in the area on the morning of January 2nd, close to where Renee's cell phone was found.
February 5th, prosecutors announced Renee's disappearance is no longer a missing persons case, but a death investigation. February 25th, Sean is arrested and charged with stealing a neighbor's gun, then returning it days later.
In July, Sean Pernice is arrested again, this time for threatening neighbors during a July 4th confrontation. He's charged with endangering his own children.
July 20th, Renee Pernice's parents are granted temporary custody of the couple's two sons. Then on January 21st, 2010, Sean signs over full guardianship of his sons to Renee's parents, saying he wants what is best for the boys while his legal battle continues.
Today, Sean Pernice is taken into custody and charged in connection with Renee's murder. He is in jail tonight on $1 million bond.
The life of a Northland mother killed by her husband is being celebrated this weekend. Dozens gathered this afternoon at the Pearson Park Community Center to remember Renee Pernice. Pernice disappeared 3 years ago from her home in Kansas City. The family says Pernice's 2 children wanted to hold the celebration of life event to give them a chance to say goodbye to their mother.
We know that you have to live the whole life each day because you don't know how many days you have. And I think we're all doing pretty well.
Her husband, Sean Pernice, pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter. He said he hit Pernice in the head and she fell down the stairs during a fight in 2009. Her body has never been found.
A jaw-dropper in a Clay County courtroom this afternoon. Sean Pernice pleads guilty to killing his wife during an argument 3 years ago. We have team coverage of this story tonight, and we start with Peggy Bright, who was at the courthouse today and talked to the prosecutor and Renee's family.
This is what we had known from the beginning, and we're pleased that he has finally admitted it.
Sean Pernice came into court today and pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter. After 3 years of denials, Pernice now says he and Renee got into an argument the morning of January 2nd, 2009. He says he hit her, she fell down some stairs and died. Pernice says he then got rid of her body in the trash. Some believe that's a watered-down version of what really happened, but the prosecutor says without a body, they went with the best plea for the circumstances.
He probably didn't really want to plead to what he pled to, but he did. And we probably didn't really want to give him that, but we did. So it was probably one of those situations where it's bittersweet.
Now, the maximum that Pernice can get is 15 years in prison. That's not nearly enough for a lot of his old neighbors in his old Northland neighborhood. Cliff Judy is live with that part of the story. Cliff?
Peggy, neighbors admit that this case has been like a cloud hanging over their heads for the last 3 years. It affected the way they interacted with each other. It affected their habits, all while they're wondering what happened to Renee.
For the people on Jarboe Street, Tuesday's confession by Sean Pernice provided some of the first relief in 3 years of wondering what happened to their neighbor.
It was important to the family and to the friends and to the neighbors around here, just for him to do that, to not only put them to peace of mind, but us as well who live in the neighborhood.
The neighborhood has been kind of quiet. Nobody comes out anymore.
Julian Mendez says he always tried to give Sean Pernice the benefit of the doubt after Renee Pernice disappeared. That is, until police say the murder suspect stole Mendez's gun.
Why are you doing that, you know? My door was always open and you're going to come and steal from me?
Every neighbor we talked to was happy to hear Pernice pleaded. The last few years, they say fewer neighbors walked their street, and with Renee's body never recovered, parents worried that kids searching nearby woods would stumble on something horrific.
I'm calm now, you know, I don't have to worry as much anymore.
Now, if there's one thing that neighbors are upset about it when it comes to today, it's that Sean Pernice got to plead to that lesser charge of voluntary manslaughter. That means less prison time than what they were expecting for him. We'll talk more about that tonight at 10. Kelly?
All right, thank you, Cliff. Now, today's result has been a long time coming, and Larry Moore is here now with a look back at some of the key developments that got us to this point. Larry?
Kelly, as you know, this has been a case we've been following for more than 3 years. It all began after the new year in 2009. On January 3rd, 2009, Renee Pernice was reported missing. February 5th of that year, her case was reclassified from a missing person case to a death investigation. Then, on February 25th, 2009, Sean was arrested and charged with stealing a neighbor's gun. In July, he was arrested again, this time for threatening neighbors. In January 2010, Sean signed over full guardianship of his 2 sons to Renee's parents, saying he wanted what is best for the boys while his legal battle continues. Then, in May of that year, Sean Pernice was indicted on murder charges. And that brings us to today, when Sean Pernice pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter in the death of his wife, Renee. Kelly?
Thank you, Larry. Now, with today's plea, Renee's family retracted the $25,000 reward they were offering for information that helped locate her.
With breaking news here at 4:30, Sean Pernice has pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter in the death of his wife, Renee. She was last seen January 1st, 2009. Pernice said today in court the two had a fight on January 2nd, 2009. He says he hit her head. She fell down the stairs and died. So far, it's not known where her body is. His trial was scheduled to start next week. Jake Peterson's been covering this afternoon. An emergency hearing held this afternoon. Jake, what's the latest?
Yeah, the emergency hearing was supposed to be about some evidence that both sides wanted suppressed, two different pieces of evidence. Turns out they reached a plea agreement. Sean Pernice guilty of voluntary manslaughter. I want to show you, if you can see right down there, this really just now wrapping up. The family talking to members of the media, telling us they are relieved that Sean Pernice will spend some time in prison, anywhere between 5 and 15 years is what the sentencing is. They're telling us that they knew all along that he did this and that he was guilty. Now, again, we are just now speaking to attorneys about how they came to this conclusion. They said within the last week they came to this conclusion. We will also learn by sentencing where Renee's body is. But one of the defense attorneys telling us that it will not be recovered, but we will find out where it's at coming up in the coming months. But May 11th is the sentencing. We are gathering all of the information, and we'll have more in about 10 minutes. But for now, we're live here in Liberty. Jake Peterson, 41 Action
All right,
News.
Jake, we'll let you get back over there. More coming up throughout the evening, of course. And we do want to take Sean Pernice has just pleaded guilty to the voluntary manslaughter. Russ Potosik now to talk about some of the history here. Hi, Russ.
Hey, Krista, right as you were getting into this breaking coverage, we just got an announcement from the TIPS hotline. This just literally came in about a moment ago. We'll get into that background on the story in just a moment. But this just in, the family of Renee Pernice, missing since January 2009, has decided to retract the $25,000 reward that they had offered for locating their daughter, or an arrest in this case. Of course, with the guilty plea, there is certainly no reason for information leading to an arrest in this case, but this is a significant development that the family is no longer offering a reward for the assistance in locating the body. We have had no word as to whether Pernice provided information as to where that body may be. Now, going back to the background on this story, until today, Sean Pernice was scheduled to stand trial for murdering his wife. Renee had started to divorce Pernice, but that divorce was never finalized before she vanished January 2nd, 2009. A police affidavit indicated that he was a firefighter and National Guardsman and that he made inconsistent statements to them. Police said when they responded to the disappearance, he actually refused to let them in the house. Police and volunteers searched the woods for her. Family members handed out posters, but she has never been found as far as we know at this point. We're hoping to get more information from family and prosecutors about that shortly. Many family members had held on to hopes that she was still alive, but during the investigation, prosecutors said there was growing evidence that she was dead, and on May 4th, 2010, they indicted Pernice for murder. Now, a year ago, Renee's father told 41 Action News he no longer believed she was alive and just needed closure. He said the couple's children remain, quote, an easement to the pain, referring to the kids as a bright light. Today, Pernice confessed and pleaded guilty. Live in the newsroom, Russ Potosik, NBC Action News.
This has been going on for 3 years. We've been covering it, and I know that Syed Shabir, you've also been looking at this case. You were outside the courtroom when the family came out today.
That's right, Jake. Several of Renee's family members gathered right here on the front steps of the courthouse. Her mother, Linda Lockwood, her father, Rick Pretz, several other members of her family gathered to speak to the media. They were holding back their tears as their emotions were really just running wild. They had some mixed feelings with this. They seemed relieved that Sean Pernice had finally admitted to killing their daughter, but with that, they are accepting the fact that their daughter has in fact been killed, and they are struggling with the fact that her body has never been found. But here's what her mother had to say.
We're pleased that Sean Pernice has admitted to killing our daughter, and this is what we had known from the beginning, and we're pleased that he has finally admitted it.
And her father, Rick Pretz, also was very grateful to the prosecution team as well as law enforcement who spent several hours within this case. And Jake, I know you were inside the courtroom when all this happened. I know you have more details about all of this.
Yeah, and one thing is when the prosecutor made this announcement, it was no surprise to family members. But what did seem surprising to them is when Sean Pernice actually said, yes, I plead guilty. You could see them with a sigh of relief on their faces. A very good day for them, they say. Back to you guys in the studio.
All right.
Northland man who admitted he killed his wife is waiting to learn his fate.
Sean Pernice pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter in the death of his wife, Renee. Jake Peterson has more on the hearing that is still going on right now.
Yeah, and good morning to you. Pernice's hearing is going on right now here at the Clay County Courthouse. Plenty of tears in the courtroom as some of her family members are giving victim impact statements. Now, basically, these statements tell the judge what Renee meant to their family. Renee's father called Sean's actions the ultimate betrayal, saying that he hopes Sean Pernice gets the maximum sentence of 15 years. Renee's family believes that this is not enough time for what he did. The courtroom is packed full of Renee's friends, family, and co-workers, and they're all wearing shirts that say, "Help us find Renee," with the TIPS hotline number on them. Now, about 100 people are here, and they are here for this sentencing. He confessed that he and his wife argued in January of 2009 in their home. Pernice said that he hit Renee and that she fell down the stairs, and that is what caused her death. Now, again, the sentencing is going on right now inside the courtroom, and we will bring you the latest as soon as it's available. But for now, we are live here in Clay County. Jake Peterson, 41 Action News.
This is something they do routinely. They get tips, and bless the public for giving us those tips.
Developing news right now at 5. A new tip sends police on another search for missing Northland mom Renee Pernice, but no sign of her has been found yet. Good evening, everyone. Kansas City, Missouri police confirmed there was a search today, and Renee's family has been told.
It's information you'll find only on 9. Peggy Bright is live at Renee's home in Kansas City North. Peggy?
Kelly, she was last seen right here on January 1st and then seemingly vanished into thin air. Investigators believe that she was murdered, and they continue to hunt for the right clue and the right location.
We think this is going to get a resolution.
Renee's father, Rick Pretz, is still confident. He was told about today's search, but like us, he was not told where it took place. Rick and the rest of Renee's family are sadly convinced that Renee has been murdered. Her husband, Sean, was the last to see her. Once an Independence firefighter, he has been charged in unrelated crimes, but not in connection with Renee's disappearance. After 9 months, Rick Pretz is happy to know that Renee has not been forgotten, even though investigators don't share with the family everything they're doing.
I understand where they're coming from, and I think they have the right approach, but we did happen to find out about this one today, and it's just very nice that the public continues to send tips and that the police are out there working.
Renee's parents have put up $25,000 in the case. They are willing to give that out, even if an arrest is never made.
The biggest scenario or piece is finding Renee, and that's worth $25,000 in itself to the first person that provides a tip good enough that enables us to find Renee.
Now, I just spoke with Sean Pernice just a moment ago at his door. He said he, too, knew nothing about this search today, and he's waiting for information just like everybody else. We're live in Kansas City North. Back to you.
Now, Peggy, do we know why investigators aren't divulging where they searched today?
No, not exactly, only that they said they might be going back there again, and they just don't want that location out for the person or persons responsible for Renee's disappearance.
All right, thank you, Peggy. Now, we asked, but neither police nor the prosecutor wanted to comment on today's search. Now, plenty of developments in the 9 months since Renee Pernice vanished. Here's a timeline of what happened when. Renee was last seen at her home, as Peggy mentioned, New Year's Day. February 25th, Sean Pernice was arrested and charged with stealing a gun. Police say it was stolen at the end of January while the neighbor was babysitting the Pernice children. Then, July 16th, Pernice was arrested again, this time charged with threatening neighbors during a July 4th confrontation and endangering his own children. July 20th, Renee Pernice's parents were granted temporary custody of the couple's 2 sons. Sean Pernice is slated to go to trial in January. Again, Sean Pernice has never been charged in Renee's disappearance.
Right now, we continue to follow breaking news in the Sean Pernice murder case. Just a few hours ago, Pernice dropped a legal bombshell in court. He pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter in the death of his wife, Renee.
Now, the mother of 2 disappeared from their Northland home in January of 2009. Her body never found. Nearby searches turned up nothing except Renee's cell phone. And we have team coverage tonight at the surprise ending to a 3-year-old mystery. Cynthia Newsom is live from the Pernice home, and both Jake Peterson and Sayed Shabir at the Clay County Courthouse where the news broke just a few hours ago. Now, Sayed, we'll start with you. The family has been there in court every time there's been a hearing. How did they react to this today?
Well, Mark, the announcement is something that Pernice's family says they've known all along, but they've been left waiting. For 3 years, they've been waiting for Sean Pernice to come forward, and this afternoon, he did just that. It's made for a very emotional afternoon for Renee Pernice's family. If you take a look at the video here, this was taken just a couple hours ago. This is of Linda Lockwood, Renee's mother. She embraced family members as she took in the news right in front of the courthouse here. Renee's family says their feelings are mixed. They're relieved that Sean has admitted to the crime, but at the same time, they are grieving the loss of their 35-year-old daughter.
The tears come from the sadness that I feel to know that my daughter was murdered, and there's no doubt about it in anyone's mind now, although there never was in ours.
Now, Renee's father, Rick Pretz, also said that he was very grateful for the prosecution's team's efforts, especially when they did not have a body to work with. He also was grateful for the law enforcement from Kansas City, Missouri Police Department for their dedicated effort in this 3-year investigation. Now, Jake Peterson was inside the courtroom when this announcement came. I understand the timing of this announcement was a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, we were actually all here expecting to hear some motions about some GPS evidence that was being used. The defense wanted that to be suppressed. Then all of a sudden, prosecutors said we've reached an agreement, a plea agreement, and that agreement is as follows. Sean Pernice will plead guilty to voluntary manslaughter. Now, Pernice does face now 5 to 15 years in prison. Pernice says on January 2nd, he got mad at his wife, Renee, and then hit her in the face. She fell down some stairs, and that is what caused her death. Now, Pernice's attorney says they reached this deal within just the last few days.
Sean today began the process of accepting responsibility and consequences for his past mistakes. Sean admitted today that he made 2 enormous mistakes that had horrible and lasting consequences for many people.
My heart breaks for them because in this job, sometimes you meet some of the greatest people under some of the worst circumstances, and this is a situation where I feel like that.
And prosecutors believe Renee's body was simply dumped in the trash. They said they will not be able to find her body, but we should hear more about what he did that night coming up during the sentencing phase, which is May 11th. We're live here in Liberty. Jake Peterson, 41 Action News.
Well, the news spread quickly to the neighborhood where Sean and Renee Pernice lived.
Cynthia Newsom is there live with reaction from neighbors. Now, Cynthia?
Yeah, it has been a long and tough 3 years for neighbors here. Sean Pernice lived in this house here behind me 3 years ago when his wife, Renee, disappeared. Now, neighbors here, most of them told me that they are not surprised that Sean Pernice pleaded guilty. They are relieved because they believed all along that he did it.
I feel like it's over now. Once he admits it, then everyone can finally be at peace with it.
And do you feel like you can be in the neighborhood? And
yeah, I feel like we all kind of thought after he went to jail that it was going to lead to either he was going to admit he was guilty or he was going to be convicted if he wasn't. So it's just good that he came clean and just let it out.
Now, neighbors here are not pleased, though, that Sean Pernice could only get 10 years for killing his wife. These neighbors believe that 10 years is simply not enough time to serve for taking a life. Reporting live, Cynthia Newsom, 41 Action News.
Hey, Cynthia, there's just so much emotion. We saw Dan White, the prosecutor, he looked very emotional himself. And the neighbor you just talked to let out that big sigh. Is that basically what the neighbors are feeling now, is relief?
They are very relieved. They're glad this is over. They've endured a lot, and they've been so concerned because they referred to Sean Pernice as a psycho. Some are still concerned and afraid to actually go on television and put their face out there and talk about this case because they called him a psycho. But they are definitely relieved that this is all over. You know, things have moved on in the neighborhood. There's a new couple now living in this house. So, you know, it's just kind of they've moved on, but now this is like the last, you know, sentence or the last chapter in this whole 3-year period.
Okay. Thank you very much, Cynthia. Of course, everyone is concerned about their children, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
All right, now wrapping up our top story tonight, Sean Pernice pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter in the death of his wife, Renee. He said he hit her in the head during an argument in their home. Then she fell down the stairs and died. A Clay County prosecutor believes Pernice threw his wife's body in a dumpster, and it is not recoverable. Sean Pernice will be sentenced May 11th. We'll continue to follow the story throughout the night and bring you updates on both KSHB.com and 41 Action News.
It was thrown in the trash.
Nothing that can bring our daughter back.
Tonight, remembering Renee, an outpouring of emotion in a Clay County courtroom today as Sean Pernice admits killing his wife, Renee. The young woman, Renee Pernice, is gone. Her body will never be found. After 3 years of denial, her husband now says he did it.
Surprise guilty plea today from Sean Pernice. We have Remembering Renee team coverage.
Jake Peterson from court, where the bombshell confession was made today. And we start with Sayed Shabir with reaction from Renee's family. Sayed?
Mark, Krista, prosecutors won't say which dumpster Sean put his wife's body in, but it was similar to this one right here. The body was then taken to a landfill and now will never be found. Her family says they are heartbroken to know that their daughter will not have a proper burial, but they say they're finding comfort now that they no longer have to wonder.
Sean Pernice has admitted to killing our daughter.
Linda Lockwood fights back tears as she takes in the news that her daughter, Renee Pernice, was killed by her husband, Sean, and then dumped in a trash can.
The tears come from the sadness that I feel to know that my daughter was murdered.
For her and her family, it was no surprise.
This is what we had known from the beginning, and we're pleased that he has finally admitted it.
Renee's father, Rick Pretz, wanted to publicly thank the work done by Clay County prosecutor Dan White.
Let me just stop. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Pretz says he's grateful White took the case.
Many prosecutors would not risk their reputation to take a case when the victim's body is not part of the evidence.
Family members are happy the 3-year investigation is finally over.
The happiness comes from knowing that he has admitted it and that he will spend some time, we don't know how much yet, but he will spend some time, and it will never be enough because there's nothing that can bring our daughter back.
But they're sad that their daughter is gone and her body will never be found.
Now, Renee was the mother of 2 young boys. They are now in the custody of Renee's mother, Linda Lockwood. Live in Kansas City, Sayed Shabir, 41 Action News.
Authorities say the body of Renee Pernice cannot be recovered because it's in a landfill. Tonight we hear from a man who says he's sure he saw confessed killer Sean Pernice getting rid of her. KMBC 9's Peggy Bright is live at the Clay County Jail. Peggy?
Kelly, Sean Pernice remains in jail here tonight after his stunning confession yesterday to killing Renee. Tonight we know how close and yet how far police came to finding her right after she disappeared.
I know it was him.
Floyd Williams lives in Louisiana now, but 3 years ago he lived in these apartments on Kansas City's northeast side. And shortly after the new year of 2009, in the back of the building where no one was supposed to be, he saw someone who was completely out of place. Floyd's girlfriend saw it first, someone dumping in the dumpster.
And by the time I got to the window, he was walking away from the dumpster, getting back into his truck, and I grabbed my phone, called the police.
But police didn't respond because Floyd didn't get the license plate, and he didn't know who the person was until he saw Sean Pernice on TV.
A week and a half later, when I see Sean Pernice on TV, both me and my girlfriend said, that's the guy that was dumping in the back.
This time, Floyd called the TIPS hotline. He told investigators Pernice was in a truck like this one. It was also spotted in the area where Renee's phone was found a few blocks away. By the time police got the tip, it was already too late to find her. Now that Pernice admits to dumping Renee's body, it's believed to be deeply buried in the Deffenbaugh landfill at 435 and Holiday Drive.
The landfill receives as much as 7,500 tons of trash every single day, and within a month, it is piled some 40 feet deep. We are live in Liberty. Back to you in the studio, Kelly.
All right, thank you, Peggy.